Worthy Grand Knight, worthy Deputy Grand Knight. I hadn't originally intended to speak about this, but I came across this news story that kind of piqued my interest. So I've been following it over the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to just take a minute to share it with you because it's received almost no coverage in this country. Every generation of Christians has looked out upon the world and said, this place is a mess. Among every generation of Christians, there have been those who concluded that they were living in the end times, to borrow a bit of what's really Protestant nomenclature, but kind of a good short-handed way of talking about things. Of course, we have differences with Protestants in terms of our understanding of the end times, but we do believe, of course, that Jesus will come again. We do believe that those of us who are saved, who are bound up in Jesus, will be carried forward to a new heaven and a new earth, that this earth will pass away. And we believe that the years leading up to the Parousia, to the second coming, will be a time of tribulation. There'll be a time when the church is persecuted, a time when the devil raises up authoritarian leaders, a time when God will pour out judgments upon the earth, in a series of catastrophes that loosely parallel the plagues of Egypt in the Old Testament. It's dangerous business, of course, to try to take current events and match them up to biblical prophecy, and basically every generation that's tried to do that has been wrong so far. That said, God did promise to show wonders in the heaven above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke. And we read in the book of Revelation that when the third angel pours out his bowl, rivers and springs of water will turn to blood. So a quick note. In Catholic thought, there's one reality, right? It's made up of both the physical and the spiritual. But we don't think in terms of sort of hard, this hard distinction of something being entirely physical or entirely spiritual. Think of sacramentals, right? Or in the Old Testament, we read about the dead man who's restored to life when he's touched by the bones of Elisha, or in the New Testament when we read about people touching cloths to the Apostle Paul and taking them to the sick and they're cured, or when we read about Jesus taking some earth and spitting in it to make a paste and rubbing it on the blind man's eyes. We are embodied creatures. We understand things through our senses. We need sacraments so that we know when supernatural events begin and end, that kind of thing. Protestants have a much more sort of flour and eggs view of things. Either something is physical or it's spiritual. Either it's natural or it's supernatural. But for us, we think much more in terms of cake. The physical and the spiritual influence and affect one another. That's why we have sacramentals. That's why we have things like holy water or religious medals. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I got all kinds of silver around my neck. I don't know that God will choose to use those as instruments of grace, but in the meantime, the vampires and the werewolves got no chance. So I'm good. So where am I going with all this? Well, the Dead Sea is bordered on the east by the country of Jordan, and that plain that extends off to the east of the Dead Sea is biblically, that's the land of Moab. And it was there that the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah once stood. We don't know the exact location of those cities, but we can get close. We could reasonably narrow the location of those cities down. And in the general area where we think those two cities once stood today, there are a series of pools, ponds, that are really an extension of the Dead Sea. They are these high salinity bodies of water that are kind of clustered. You can see the Dead Sea off in the distance. On September 13th, one of the larger pools began to change color. And by the evening of September 15th, it had turned blood red. The date is important. Yom Kippur is the Jewish Day of Atonement. It's a day when Jews don't work, they fast, They pray, they reflect on their failures, and they beg God for forgiveness. This year, on Yom Kippur, this pool in the land of Moab, close to where Sodom and Gomorrah must have once stood, turned blood red. Various theories have been put forward, algae blooms, pollution, and so on. The Jordanian authorities sampled the water 3 weeks ago. The only update has been a report 2 or 3 days later, a news story that said they were baffled by the color change. I guess from my point of view, and this is why I wanted to talk about what I call the cake problem, even if it's a natural occurrence, right? Even if you could put a drop of water on a slide and see that it's a bacterial bloom, that doesn't mean it's not a sign. That's kind of a point I want to make. It's curious, I guess. I mean, we on the Jewish Day of Atonement, this pool turned red. Other pools in the area did not. So we have this pool in Moab that turns red on the Jewish Day of Atonement, while all the other pools surrounding it did not. And as of yet, we have no explanation for why that happened. I don't know. Maybe it's time for me to invest in a tinfoil hat, but I find this story unsettling. It's sticking with me for some reason, and so I thought I would share it with you. There are 3 or 4 videos you can watch on YouTube, and we were going to try to show a clip, but we don't have any Wi-Fi down here. So Doug is going to include a link when he sends out his notes, and if you watch the video that we'll be forwarding, there's a shot that pans left across this blood red pool. And for just an instant, you can see one of the nearby pools, and you can see that it's not affected, and you can see the Dead Sea off in the distance. So if you get a chance to watch the video, maybe pay close attention for that. So I don't know what it means. I don't know that it means anything. It just kind of piques my interest. It's been sitting with me enough that I've been checking each day to see if there are any updates on the story. And of course, again, it's nothing else. It is a reminder that we do believe in a coming time of tribulation, and it's something to reflect on. So I wanted to share that with you this evening. Thank you.
Is it still red?
Yeah.